The town of Needham submitted its action plan for the MBTA communities by the January 31st deadline. The submission puts the town in temporary compliance with a new state law that requires communities near transit hubs to craft multifamily zoning districts or risk losing certain state funds. Town officials see Needham's compliance as a critical part of the town's long-term housing plan, a hundreds-page document that outlines steps to address the town's unmet housing needs. But today, we will focus on how Needham could change under the MBTA community's rezoning strategy and what the next steps are. Municipal producer Yushao Yuan reports.
The new law aims to clear the zoning barriers for multifamily housing to address the housing crisis across the Commonwealth. Based on the town's current developable land and housing stock, Needham needs to establish zoning districts that can provide opportunities for at least 1,784 multifamily units. And 90% of those units must be within a half-mile of a commuter rail station.
The submission of an action plan only requires local officials to outline the potential zoning changes the town may have to adopt in order to comply. Needham's rezoning strategy is largely focused on areas along the Highland Avenue to Chestnut Street corridor, which are not only near transit but also have higher density development already.
Most of that zoning already worked except for some pockets. That's the opportunity about figuring out what tweaks needed to be made to make it contiguous, to make it meet all the requirements.
Town planners recommend using the existing apartment A1 district as a dimensional template for multifamilies. Some of these are already located within the half-mile radius, such as Rosemary Ridge, the Highlands, the Hamilton Highlands, formerly known as Webster Green.
It fit the requirements of the MBTA Communities Act perfectly. They require at least 15 units per acre. It allows 18 units per acre. Obviously, if we chose a zone or to create a new zone with a higher density, then we wouldn't have to rezone as many acres. I guess somebody would refer to it as a suburban density more than an urban density.
One of the rezoning strategies is to convert areas that are not currently zoned for multifamilies to apartment A1 zoning. For example, multifamily zoning will be extended on both sides of Highland Avenue, from Hamilton Highlands and Avery School condominium to Honeywell Street. Also, parcels around Greensfield near the commercial area will be zoned for multifamilies, where there are existing buildings including the Stephen Palmer Building, YMCA, former Hillcrest Gardens, and the two churches on Great Plain Avenue. Another change will apply to some of the commercial districts where mixed-use development is allowed by right and the industrial districts. The rezoning will add by right standalone multifamilies and will increase the height limit for mixed-use development in some areas. A mixed-use development typically has retail and restaurants on the first floor and residential units on the upper floors. This modification will affect areas such as space from Sudbury Farms to Eden Funeral Home and on Chestnut Street from near the police station to the railroad bridge. However, in the downtown area, Needham planning leaders do not want to include standalone multifamilies.
Because our vision for that area is the sidewalk, frontage of retail, restaurants, shops of various kinds. That's what we want for our downtown. We don't want standalone multifamily housing in that particular location.
The compliant communities must adopt the zoning changes by the end of 2024, but it's hard to predict how much housing the new regulation will generate.
We know what the zoning allows, but we don't know what the developers will propose.
And it is also uncertain what the effect will be on traffic, infrastructure, and school enrollment. The planning board will have the power to modify development proposals through due process.
What we determined is that every project will need a traffic study. Every project will need to review the capacity of the town for that particular project. What we want to do is, whenever there is a proposal, we need to have a comprehensive assessment of it and the impacts to the town.
Just because these developments are by right does not mean that the planning board has no say. The state law allows site plan review, and in site plan review, we can address all of these kinds of issues.
As a matter of fact, town planners are more keen on how to attract developers to create housing. According to McKnight, there have not been many proposals after Needham passed the zoning amendment in 2009 allowing mixed-use development in the downtown area and along Chestnut Street.
And we've only had 2 projects, one on Dedham Avenue across from the Unitarian Church, and more recently a smaller project on Oak Street. That may be something to study. Is there something about our zoning that is discouraging development?
The town recently kicked off a parking study to re-examine parking needs in Needham Heights and Needham Center. If Needham can reduce the parking requirement to some extent, it may incentivize developers by lowering the development costs.
Looking at the parking study, what actually is the reality, especially now, with a hybrid situation and opportunities for the MBTA communities where people take public transportation, all of that put together will have a different result than what we currently have.
There will be 3 community meetings to gather public feedback on the MBTA Communities Action Plan. For Needham Channel News, I'm Yu Xiaoyuan.